All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back. So I'm sure a lot of people have heard by now, Virginia Giuffre, the Jeffrey Epstein victim who was tied to Prince Andrew, was found dead yesterday, and apparently she did it to herself. So obviously there is a lot of talk about whether or not she actually was the one who did it. If you start talking about getting, God, this is going to be a tough video to do without being able to say the word that rhymes with boo ride. Okay, what? Are there any other words that rhyme with that you could have thought of? No, actually, there aren't. But yeah, I mean, you're talking about the Jeffrey Epstein case, and we're talking about people offing themselves. It's suspicious, But in this case, I think I know what happened, and I'm going to go through what I believe is true here, whether or not she actually did this to herself and why I believe that. And then I want to show you one of the most repulsive people in the history of the world. So Prince Andrew's ex, who is this lady right here, Lady Victoria Hervey, gloated about Virginia Giuffre's death. So she's a gem. Hey, she doesn't look crazy at all, right? That looks like a totally sane woman. Definitely not a psycho who would dance on the grave of a woman who had been the victim of the most prominent child abuser of all time. Because that makes sense. I'm sure she's lying, dude. So anyway, I'll show you what she said after we go through the case. But let's start here. So Virginia Giuffre, one of Jeffrey Epstein's most prominent abuse survivors, dies by doing it to herself. Other Epstein victims credited Giuffre with giving them the courage to speak out. So Virginia Giuffre, one of the most prominent survivors, Jeffrey Epstein, died by her friends and family said Friday. She died in Australia, where she had been living for several years. She was one of the earliest and loudest voices calling for criminal charges against Epstein and his enablers. Other Epstein abuse survivors later credited her with giving them the courage to speak out. You know what's like really messed up about the Epstein story, like overall, is when the Florida case happened. The original Florida case that he ended up getting the 1 year sentence for, where he was allowed to leave the jail 6 days a week, all day. And he was also allowed to fly to his island or fly to New York, and that counted as incarceration time. So basically, he was not incarcerated at all. In that case, that was the one which I believe is where Virginia Giuffre was originally kind of sucked into their orbit. And that's the one where he basically created this incentivized structure where a girl would tell her friend, like, hey, there's this guy who wants to get massaged by teenage girls, and he'll it's like, it doesn't matter if you've never massaged anyone, but you get paid $250. And they're like, $250? Like, yeah, you just have to give him a massage. And you can hear how that story ends right after a word from this sponsor. You know what else has been covered up? The insane health benefits of cocoa flavonols. That's the compound found in cocoa that boosts nitric oxide, improves heart health, and regenerates brain cells. Something all of us need. Now, before you roll your eyes thinking this is some woo-woo nonsense, let me show you something. Harvard scientist Dr. William Lee actually backs this up.
So, studies have been done to show that the flavonols in cocoa stimulate stem cells to come out of your bone marrow like bees in a beehive in your bloodstream, and they go out and they find wherever it needs to be repaired. If it's in your heart, they'll fix it. If it's in your liver, they'll fix it. If it's in your skin, they'll fix it.
Flavonols are the good stuff found in cocoa beans, but they're usually destroyed during the chocolate making process. That's where Black Forest Supplements comes in. They've created the first ever high flavonol cocoa powder packed with everything your body needs, and it's only 20 calories. Like the doc said, it can boost your natural stem cell production. Hollywood elites drop $50,000 on stem cell injections, but you can just drink the cocoa powder and get the same benefits without selling your soul for it. I've been using this for a while now. Brain fog gone, energy up, everything up. Now, when I'm not doing this, I'm doing jujitsu. I need my body in peak condition. I need my brain to be sharp, and I am getting a lot of help from this product. So here's the deal. I worked out a special deal with Black Forest Supplements to hook you up with 40% off for the next 48 hours. But this stuff always sells out, so don't wait. 40% off promo for 48 hours only. Hit the link in the description or the pinned comment to stock up before it's gone.
But the trick was, every time that the massage was going to happen, it would turn into him cornering them. They would think that the other girl was going to be there. The other girl was not going to be there. They'd be alone with him. And then he would just, flip over naked, and he would, manipulate them into taking or whatever. Like it turned real dark, real bad. And then after he had kind of broken this little teenage flower, he would send her out and have her run the same ruse on the next girl. And there were, I mean, you're talking like, I honestly think there were like 150 girls or something. There was some absolutely ludicrous number. That might be low. It might have been 200 girls. So when that happened, they had this case and all these girls were ready to testify, were ready to put him in. And the guy who represented all of these victims, I watched him on a documentary, and he said just out of nowhere, with no explanation whatsoever, they were just like, we made a plea agreement with him. And it was him pleading to one count of solicitation with a minor. One count. There were 150 victims, okay? The way the counts work, like let's say that you, well, let's actually not say that you, but let's say if a person like Jeffrey Epstein, okay, he had an inappropriate relationship with one teenage girl, okay? If he met her 15 times and they did, they had sexual contact or whatever, that's 15 counts, okay? We're not talking about like one, he just pleaded to one victim. We're talking about one count, a single time is what he pled to. And obviously, if anybody knows this backstory, the guy who gave him that deal is directly connected to the Clintons, and it was a whole thing. But yeah, and these girls were just left in the lurch. Like these really young girls who had been super fucking brave to come forward, and the machine just stomped them out, dude. It's disgusting, man. It's disgusting. This guy took these young little flowers, dirtied them up, and then they, some good people tried to rebuild them, give them their power back, let them go and tell the truth about what happened publicly and have this guy see some repercussions. And then some scumbag politicians were all, nah, he's not going to face any justice. We don't even care that he did that to you. Okay. And no, you don't get your day in court. You can just go back to being a damaged little angel. Anyway, so she was also provided critical information to law enforcement that contributed to the investigation and later the conviction of Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell, as well as other investigations by the U.S. attorney. So it is, okay, here's the quote where the family announced it. It is with utterly broken hearts that we announce that Virginia passed away last night at her farm in Western Australia. Her family said in a statement to NBC News she lost her life to suicide after being a lifelong victim of sex and trafficking. Now, this part's important, and then I'll get into what exactly I think happened here. So, but this is important. So she was raised primarily in Florida. She had a troubled childhood. She said she was abused by a family friend, triggering a downward spiral that led to her living on the streets for a time as a teenager. She was attempting to rebuild her life when she met Maxwell, Epstein's close confidant. Maxwell groomed her to be abused by Epstein, and that abuse continued from 1999 to 2002, according to Giuffre. Giuffre also alleged that Epstein trafficked her to his powerful friends, including Prince Andrew and French modeling agent Jean-Luc Burnel. And then that's the infamous picture of her with Prince Andrew. So let me see if there's anything else that we have to talk about here. But well, this is big too. So she filed a federal lawsuit against Prince Andrew in 2021, alleging that he abused her when she was 17. Andrew, who stepped back from his duties as an active royal conduit, yada, yada, yada. Okay, he settled the case with her for an undisclosed amount. I heard it was $22 million. Is what I heard. So I don't think you pay anyone $22 million because nothing happened. Now, Burnell, who headed several modeling agencies, was charged with sexual harassment and the rape of at least one minor in December of 2020. It's unbelievable how how often this behavior happens in those circles. Like the modeling circles or like the fashion and all that stuff. You remember the Balenciaga thing? That's one of the most insane things that's ever happened, dude. The Balenciaga thing. They're all, we're just going to hide a bunch of satanic, that's a word I know you can't say. Pedophilia. Right? They're just going to hide that in a bunch of ads. just outright, just plain right in your face. And they thought, no, anyway, unbelievable, dude. So here's the deal, okay? So here's what I think happened. If you guys remember, a few weeks ago, she had that incident where she had posted on the internet that she had been hit by a bus and had 4 days to live. I'm sure that anybody who's watching this video remembers that. So when I did the video about that, I kind of did some, I don't know, half decent detective work, I think, based on things that she had said previously about how she coped with the Epstein thing, right? Like, so I'd seen an interview with her, and when they asked her, like, how did you cope with this constant abuse, whatever? And she's like, Xanax. She's like, Xanax is the only way I was able to cope because it just made me feel nothing. Like, I didn't feel anything, yada, yada. And at the time of the incident where she said she was hit by the bus, and it turned out that there had been like a minor traffic accident that no one was injured at when the police came out with that. She had been estranged from her family. And what she said in the post was, I only have 4 days to live. I'm really hoping to see my children before I go. And I'm like, see my children before I go? And then she said something really weird. I'll tell you exactly what she said. She said, but I know if you wish for something and shit in your right hand, there's still just going to be shit in your right hand. Something gross like that. And I was like, Jesus, but basically saying like, I know I can wish for something, but I'm not going to get it. So this is my take. Okay. Why would she be estranged from her husband of 20 years and her kids? Okay. She's already talked about having a history with Xanax. I think she was strung out, dude. I think she had like gone pretty heavy off the deep end to the point where the kids were not even allowed to see her, or the kids didn't want to see her. Something had happened to where she was completely detached from the family. And it lines up, it lines up behind most cases like that, where you see someone who's like an absolute train wreck. In many cases, there's a trauma there. And obviously she had a lot of trauma. She got it put on her when she was, this picture right here, it sounds like she's basically a senior citizen in this picture compared to when someone started putting it on her in her own family. So like, yeah, of course, a person like that has a high probability of getting strung out on drugs, So I think what was going on there was that as much as you can be irrational and whacked out on drugs, the desire to see your children would overwhelm all of that for a mother, and so I think it was like that was like her desperation attempt to see her kids, because no one was letting her see her kids. And so I think she really did whack herself out. I could be wrong. I absolutely could be wrong. This could have been done to her to shut her up or whatever. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows what's going on with the Epstein files? Okay. Like the last report that we got that anything was happening was the one that I covered, where there's a bunch of whistleblowers saying that, or sources in the FBI saying that they had gotten all of the tapes and they were like open source, everybody watching them to get a ledger of all of the people who were on them. And we never heard anything about that. Now, if you assume that that's true, okay, which it might be, might not be, but if you assume that that's true, she could be on a tape. She could have been on a tape with this person, that person, whatever. There's a million different ways where she could be a liability that someone would want to, put down. But in my opinion, I think she did it to herself. That's my hypothesis, because she was in such a bad spot before. And like that whole thing with, I have 4 days to live. She did that. Like that's not some kind of intelligence operation. That's way too weird, because like what would have happened between, like, it was public. Her family would have come out and said something, like clearly that was real. So anyway, but again, so let's look at this woman who gloated about it because she's such a gem. Okay, check this out. So Prince Andrew's ex gloats at Virginia Giuffre's suicide. Lady Victoria Hervey made sick comments on Instagram. So she said, so Prince Andrew's ex-girlfriend, Lady Victoria Hervey, gloated over the death by suicide of Andrew's sex accuser, Virginia Giuffre, a mother of 3. In a vile message on Instagram, Hervey posted a screenshot of the news of Giuffre's death with the caption, "When lies catch up with you, there's no way out." She then posted another message saying, "I have taken the decision to pause my posts on Virginia Giuffre at this time, irrespective of the circumstances. Suicide at anyone is at any time is tragic, and in a young mother who has children, even more so." Oh yeah, hey. Generally speaking, someone says a thing, okay, I'll take the first thing you said as your actual opinion. Now you're worried about a young mother? Give me a break. You know what I mean? What are you talking about? And look, and she left the first post up. Again, for the record, okay? For the record, she looks wackadoo. She looks wackadoo to me, man. Now, she supports Trump, but listen, dude. No one said that every single Trump supporter is a genius, right? She can both support Trump and be an absolute Nimrod dimwit, you know? I'm sure there are some people that aren't they all Nimrod dimwits? No, we're not, actually. Many are Nimrod but most are smart people. Like me. Okay? Just kidding. Anyway, so she sucks, obviously. Dude, I wouldn't be shocked if this chick had an OnlyFans. LadyVictoriaHervey.com. Live your best life. Improve. Oh my God. This looks like a hooker fucking website. It's all, here are your rates. Here are the rates. Here's what it costs for an hour. Here's what it costs for a weekend. I am willing to be flown out. Here's my what's it called? My registry of gifts. Jesse, how do you know so much about hooker websites? Give me a break, you guys. Don't break my balls, okay? Don't break my balls. I'm making jokes here, okay? Anyway, that's what I got, you guys. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. Peace.